sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome back, if you are back, to My Sister's a Therapist. You should be back because you should have listened to everything, right?
Yes, if you haven't been listening to all of these, you're a bad person.
You're a failure. You failed us. My name is Virginia Jones. Thank you for joining us. I'm a stand-up comedian in Los Angeles, California. This is a podcast I do with my sister, Laura Ryan, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist. And here she is.
I'm Laura Ryan, licensed marriage and family therapist. My sister, Virginia Jones, is a stand-up comedian. She's the life of the party.
I did an audition this week with incredibly funny, beautiful friend of mine, Jenny Zigrino. We were hanging out after, and she was talking about her partner. And I said, I hate to be this person, but this really reminds me of a podcast that I did with my sister. My sister's a therapist. And she's like, oh, really? Like, oh, that's interesting. I'll check it out. And I'm like, and she's like, what is it called? I'm like, my sister's a therapist. She's like, no, I know your sister's a therapist. I'm like, no, that's what it's called. And it was a real who's on first type situation.
She said, wow, you're really unoriginal with your name choices.
I'm literal. It's very literal.
It is quite literal. There's no denying it.
Today, we are here to talk about anger. Now, we have done an anger management episode where we kind of talked about people with anger issues, how it affects families, patterns. But I think that there's still more to say on the topic of anger.
And there's always more to say.
So I think this one we're maybe going to call Anger Part Dos.
Extra angry, extra loud.
In typical Jones style, I read an article on this topic this week and I couldn't find it again and I don't remember what it was from, but I remember what it was about. Is anger bad? You know, and it's not. Like, it's an emotion. Emotions are never wrong. Anger is not a problem in of itself. And like physical pain that teaches you not to touch a hot stove or not to cut your hand while you're slicing a bagel, anger can alert us to something that's going wrong, right?
Right. I think it's an important emotion. I think all emotions are important. They all serve a purpose. There's a reason we do them.
So in its purest state, where it is genuinely anger and not another emotion masquerading as anger, helping us identify problems in our life. I heard an article once about physical pain, about like the tiny percentage of people who do not feel physical pain. And I thought, my first thought was like, that must be so great to never be in physical pain or discomfort.
Until you burn your hand off.
Right, exactly. Like the article was like, well, but they're frequently fighting infection. They're covered in wounds because they have no idea, like, they're hurting themselves.
I don't remember what the condition is called, but there's a condition where basically your lizard brain is offline. It doesn't work. This woman was talking about how she's walking Central Park and a man comes, tells her to, or give him her money. She's just like, nope. Yeah. She's like, I don't want to do that. And he was so afraid because he's never seen a person who does not feel fear. And she said it has put her in a lot of precarious situations in life, like that one.
Right. And because her head's not on a swivel, she's not constantly like looking out for stuff because she doesn't feel fear. But yeah, when you are in a situation and you behave differently than anyone's ever behaved, it will freak the person out.
Yeah, she said he turned and ran screaming because he thought she was possessed.
It's the behavior of someone, one, who's on drugs, who you never know what they're going to do. It's also the behavior of a dirty Harry, right? It's the behavior of someone who has a weapon that you can't see. Weapon is just apathy.
So yeah, circling back, all emotions are there for a reason.
Right. And we talked about this a little bit last time, that anger is sometimes a mask for more vulnerable emotions.
I would say always.
But then what is anger in its purest state? There's no such thing as that.
Well, it's important to notice when I'm not feeling good about a situation. Anger, instead of falling into the depths of depression, it helps me to feel empowered. It helps me to stand up for myself, et cetera, et cetera. It's always masking something else, though. It's usually masking fear or, something else.
A lot of times, anger is masking a more vulnerable emotion like sadness or shame or fear. I feel like your anger is fear a lot of the time because it's fear for your child.
Right.
My anger is sadness and shame because I feel like someone's mistreating me or I'm being disrespected somehow. I get that one a lot.
So it's like your pride is stung.
Pride. Of course, men are socialized to show strength. And so men will use anger for a lot of things.
Not all men.
Hashtag not all men. But they're still expected to be like tough and like aggressive, and anger is the only emotion that they're allowed to have, really.
Well, it's the only socially acceptable emotion for men in America.
How anger affects the body, like what's bad about anger? Like you want to shake it off because it feels bad. Unlike other emotions, you've got all that epinephrine and adrenaline in your body that your caveman self would use to fight off a bear, but there is no bear.
You're sitting in your cubicle.
Right. You're just mad at your boss, and you're not allowed to fight your boss.
No. And so your body's being flooded with stress hormones, which are affecting all the major organs of your body.
If you're angry all the time, it can increase your blood pressure. It negatively affects memory, and it contributes to poor judgment. I think we've all done something when we're angry that we later regretted because your higher brain shuts off.
Yes, your neocortex is shut down when you're deep in your anger.
So, and it's not an excuse when people say, like, they'll come back and say, I didn't mean to call you a fat sloot. I was angry.
I didn't mean to leave a voicemail on an 11-year-old's.
I didn't mean to call her a little
pig.
I was angry. Thanks, Mr. Baldwin. It can affect your digestion and the GI tract. If you are angry enough, anger can literally cause you to drop a blood clot and die. Like you can die from being too angry. And a lot of men do. Long-term effects include high blood pressure, headaches, and anxiety. Being angry all the time contributes to anxiety. And when we talk about when we're angry, like the primal part of the brain takes over that lady didn't have. The amygdala hijack is a term that I found.
Hey, what's something weird you've done when you're angry?
Well, the first thing I thought of was something that a partner did. My high school boyfriend, first real love of my life, he would get angry and he would destroy things, then tell me about it. One time he threw a leather jacket in a pool. He bought me a bottle of perfume, and we were children just abusing each other. We didn't know any better. He bought me a bottle of perfume that I knew was the brand that his ex-girlfriend wore, the only ex-girlfriend he had. And I expressed that wasn't great. And he got angry and he poured it down the toilet, and he told me about that. I'm like, well, you could have returned it.
I remember something weird that you did when you were angry.
Okay, tell me.
Robbie broke your glasses. And so you took, I think it was an old Slurpee or something, and poured it all over his bed, or some old milk or something.
Wow. I don't remember it, but that's poor judgment. I definitely have thrown things on people when angry. A lot of liquids.
Yeah. When I remember once I don't remember even what it was. There was a man at a bar, and I had been drinking, let's be honest, and he didn't give me whatever I wanted. So I took the remainder of my beer and poured it down his back.
I have had beer thrown on me multiple times.
By me?
No, by men. One time I smarted off a friend of my boyfriend's at a show, at a rock show, and he dumped a beer on me, and that friendship was over. One time, this was really great, in Columbia, Missouri, when I was going to school there, this kid was absolutely butt-faced drunk. He had climbed up on the electrical poles, and it was really dangerous because he was like up there with the wires, could die. So the college crowd started throwing bottles and cans at him, and I said something extremely helpful, like, hey, you guys stop that. We need to get him down from there. And then they threw beer on me. So those are the two times I remember.
A long-term friend's boyfriend was being awful to me because he was a terrible, abusive, garbage person. Right. And in the middle of like a huge party full of people, he pulls down his underwear and pants and flashes his ding dong at me. So I had a tall boy beer in my hand, and I threw it at him.
One time,
I hit him right in the chest, and that was good.
One time when I was both drunk and angry, I beat up a girl's car, but I'm not sure if I regret that.
I don't regret the thing that I did. I think that was the right choice. I did have to run away really fast after that. I was not drunk. Okay. This is a sober memory. I was at a Strokes concert because I'm old, and I saw a drunk man, so drunk, and like a huge drunk man. He was like 6-something, and he was shoving his body into this small woman, getting ready to beat her up.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said, hey, man, expletive, get your hands off that chick. And he didn't do it. So I decided to kick him in the chest. And when I did that, he grabbed my shoulder, and I heard a cracking sound because guess what he was doing? He was pulling it out of socket as he was falling. And I still have that injury to this day. So anger is not the solution.
While it's great that you were angry on behalf of another person and trying to defend her, probably better to get a security person to do it.
That would have been the move. I think I just felt like it was happening really fast. And
So,
again,
yeah, so right in
my
front of you.
anger is fueled by fear most of the time.
Right.
And I was afraid he was going to kill her.
Yeah, that sounds intense. Causes of anger, deeper root causes besides like just someone yelled at you, substance abuse or alcohol use disorder, unprocessed trauma, family dysfunction, so learned behavior, depression, anger and aggression are common signs of depression in men. And then we've got the classics, borderline personality disorder, bipolar, intermittent explosive disorder, something that my ex claimed to have. What do you know about that? You just explode into rage.
But it's not consistent. You never know when it's going to happen, but it's intermittent.
An interesting thing that has happened in our lifetime is that public anger is no longer as acceptable as it used to be. I think we used to say like, well, that's just what happens. But especially anger is not acceptable in the workplace, and abuse is not acceptable in the workplace. It used to be very acceptable. If a man was angry at you, you did something wrong.
No, I remember my first job, like grown-up job. I was at my desk and my boss was like bawling me out and like screaming at me. And I started crying. We were on the phone and he was like, call me back when you can get yourself together. And that was
Right.
normal. I didn't quit on the spot.
I had a job where I was an assistant designer. My boss asked me to go get something out of a particular room. And I went to the room and there was a man in there. He's like, what are you doing in here? I'm like, I'm looking for this thing. And he's like, well, it's not in here. Why did he want that room so bad? I don't know.
I'm going to go ahead and say nefarious purposes. And you're probably lucky that you didn't find out.
My boss, Patty Schuster, said it was. And he stood up to me and he was angry. I could see in his face that he was angry. He said, are you calling me a liar? And I lost that job because that man was so angry with me. And my boss was just like, he's a manager. Like he got angry. We just can't have it. Okay. My baby niece who was living with me, someone at her work, at her restaurant, lost their job because they were dressing down people and being verbally abusive. And it's very interesting because like chef world is like the last place that it feels like you can really be an a-hole to other people.
I don't know if she's a baby either. She's technically an adult. And Gordon Ramsay has made his whole career out of being angry in a kitchen.
Out of being angry. Yeah, but I think in the actual workplace, I think that's getting less and less popular, especially as Gen Z starts working. And they're not going to put up with that because they know they shouldn't have to. How people express anger. We've mostly been talking about outward expressions of anger, yelling and screaming and breaking stuff. It's interesting to think about, like, I've definitely had partners who broke stuff in front of me or hit stuff, which is just demonstration of like, hey, this could be you.
It's threatening.
Because I definitely had them say things like, well, you know, I was just getting it out and I was getting it out on this object.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from Why Does He Do That? Understanding Angry and Controlling Men, aka Abusers, by Lundy, Bancroft. He says, you know, the interesting part about all of that is they never break their own stuff. They always break your stuff. Because like I had a set of John Malkovich nesting dolls, limited edition, pretty great. And some dumb butthole decided to slam his fist into the wall and knock them all on the ground and break them.
And it's like, they'll tell you like, oh, I was just in the fog of anger. I didn't know what I was doing. But yes, it is strange how they will be attracted to your stuff.
Very awkward. I've never noticed him going into his own closet and ripping his own clothing. Right. Just mine.
Right. But a second expression of anger is stuffing it and just like choking it down, which is very popular in Midwestern homes and religious families. But that's also bad for you, swallowing it.
It's a great way to get cancer if that's what you're looking for.
And then the third kind is passive aggressive anger, which is more snide comments and sarcasm and bullying and withholding, which I have both been the victim of and the perpetrator of.
The same. I remember I had an ex-boyfriend who came home from work and was opening and closing all of the pantry doors really aggressively. And I walked out and I was like, is something the matter? And he sort of rolled his eyes and said no. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to act as if nothing's the matter and you just don't understand how doors work.
A problem in my life has been like, I frequently don't read anger correctly. I think people are kidding because I will do pretend anger. Stop looking at me like that. I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're insane. What's wrong with you?
Sometimes men will, like a person will be angry, but you couldn't possibly be angry. Like, and I'll continue on with the joke. Like one time I was at a party with my friend, Andy, who I really liked. And he was a comic and we were at this Christmas party.
Rest in peace, Andy. He's all in past tense.
He's moved away. He is not dead. He's very well. So I was at this party with my friend Andy. We were talking to other comics and I started saying, who do you like better, him or me?
You didn't realize that wasn't the person to do that with.
I didn't realize that wasn't the person to do that with. Granted, he's a white man, but you've known me longer, and he was furious. And I thought it was part of the bit. Like, look, he's getting so mad now. No, he was really mad.
Isn't that a Young Ones? Hands up, who likes me?
That is the game I am constantly playing. Hands up, who likes me?
And in the Young Ones, I'm just going to say it also backfired because no one put that
backfired terribly.
Referencing kids, we're referencing The Young Ones, a television series that probably stopped airing in 1982.
Look it up. An interesting thing about The Young Ones that I just learned recently, because you know that Mike doesn't seem like that developed a character.
And he also seems like he's 50.
Neil is just kind of a one-joke character, but the whole show was built around Rick because that was the character that Rick Mayall had been doing. And that's why Rick as a character is so attractive because like he's fleshed out. The people's poet is I
feel like Vivian is pretty fleshed out. He has a lot of
Vivian's pretty fleshed out. And Rick and Adrian Edmondson had been comedy partners. So they worked together a lot. After all that preamble about what anger is and how it can express, how do you deal with anger? Because I think that I was taught and Americans were taught that you should talk about it or rage about it. You should hit stuff. Like sometimes there'll be a business where like there's the room where you smash stuff.
It's still around.
You smash a car.
Yeah, you smash a car. You take an old computer and smash it in with a sledgehammer. You throw cheap glasses and plates at walls.
A break room or smash lab. Smash it in Denver, Colorado.
We can only go to Denver if we want to smash things.
So you can beat up a car. In the 70s, you would do primal scream therapy, releasing it. When Donald Trump was elected president of these United States, a reporter asked Yoko Ono how she felt about it, like what her thoughts were. And she screamed for 3 minutes. She just screamed.
Yeah, I feel that in my bones.
I feel like that's how I felt as well. I asked an AI chatbot what you should do when you're angry. And it's the first suggestion was throwing or breaking something, parentheses, safely, close parentheses, screaming in private and complaining to a friend. And like, it feels like these things are getting rid of it, but it just kind of compounds it. Like it prolongs and expands the anger.
Well, you're just re-upping your adrenaline. That's what you're doing. You're activating your adrenaline.
And you're taking a moment of anger where you didn't have control over it and maybe making into a self-righteous anger where you do have control.
Right.
So the article that I read, and that is not news to anyone who's a therapist or anybody probably ever, but I thought was interesting, was that the way to get out of anger is to meditate. But it seems so counterintuitive.
Why?
Because you're going to a person who's like, I'm throwing out all this energy and you're saying, okay, what you should do is sit down and breathe. That seems absurd to say to a person.
What you need to do is change your state. And that's that's a shortcut. You could do lots of things. I think running is also good because you burn off all the adrenaline. Like doing something really, I think doing something like jump rope solidly for a couple minutes, because that's going to wipe anyone out.
I was talking to a friend last night, was a man. He's my friend and he's a man. And I asked him what he does when he is angry. And he said he goes for a walk. He isolates himself and he goes for a walk. He said the most important tool for him has been recognizing when he's starting to get angry so he can remove himself from the situation ASAP.
Yeah, I think it's noticing when you're triggered and dysregulated. What I used to do when I was in a very abusive, scary relationship is when I could feel my heart rate starting to accelerate, that's when I would end the conversation.
So suggestions include breathing deeply. We know that. Inhaling to a count of 4, exhaling to a count of 6. Do a physical activity, meditating, practicing self-compassion. It is funny how unhelpful it is for someone to tell you to calm down when you're angry, but that's exactly what you need to do. Every man who's ever yelled at me to calm down has found it really, really productive.
Because his goal wasn't for you to calm down. His goal was to tell you that you were out of control and insane. And so that's not going to do it. With my child, when he was a little guy, we did a Daniel Tiger thing where you say, take a deep breath and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you're feeling bad and you want to roar, take a deep breath and count to 4. So if you want to go with Daniel Tiger, that one works too. I've done it as an adult.
That works for all ages. Take a deep breath and count to 4 in an attempt to be helpful. When you revisit the thing that made you angry, especially if you can do it with a therapist, you can think about what was the trigger here and what thoughts and beliefs did the situation bring up? What is really stirring me up here?
This is why journaling is helpful. I think also, I write letters when I'm really upset. and I write them really mean ways, and I say all the
Yeah.
awful things that I want to say, and I get through all that, and then I clean it up and I send a palatable letter to someone.
My favorite, because I am a verbal processor, there is nothing I love more than to compose that, not even letter, but conversation to the person on a walk and like really hone it. This is exactly what I would say to them.
So what I do, and I found out that that comes from growing up in an abusive family.
That's weird that we both do that. So, yeah, journaling, songwriting is a suggestion.
I wrote a great song about that. It's not me, it's you, babe.
You know, Liz Phair has had a very good career on this. Alanis Morissette has done very, very well. But the to take a cognitive approach, you can try to think about the situation from the other person's perspective, and I have found that helpful.
You can't do that until your brain is back online, though.
Right, until you're feeling better. But
So, like in the immediate moment, I don't know if we talked about this in the last episode. I don't think we did. It takes men a lot less time to ramp up into anger, but they also come down quicker. And it takes women a lot longer to ramp up, but it takes us about 2 to 2.5 hours to get back to a place where our brain is fully online again.
The hard thing about arguments that get heated is you do not have the capacity to be productive, to say something helpful. You're just going to be angry.
Yeah, because you can't see the other person as a friend. You can only see them as an adversary, and your only goal is to destroy them.
Oh, yeah. On the topic of rethinking, later, when you're not upset, re-examine the situation, challenge your own thoughts and say, like, is that true? Because I do this a lot where I became angry about something because I perceive that something has been done at me or because of me, when in fact, it probably doesn't have anything to do with me at all.
You're right. I mean, that's why we're going to circle back to Imago. I mean, this is why I like Imago, because
Right.
when you actually sit down and talk about the moment, you're saying, I understand what happened. This is what I understand about it. This makes sense to me. And these are the feelings that I think you might have been having. Because really, ultimately, when we have conflict, what we want is to be understood.
There's a lot of things that I don't care about Facebook, but one thing that has been very amusing is the Facebook memories, because it was a public journal. Something would happen and I would write about it. The things that I was getting angry about 10, 12 years ago, it's so much easier for me to say, that had nothing to do with me. I was personalizing something and taking an offense at something. And I was the last thing from this person's mind when they said it or did it. And that only comes with time.
I remember Oprah had a really funny story about how she had been hating this woman, like absolutely hating her. And so her point was, being angry, hating people is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And so she was walking around. I think she was thinking specifically about this horrible woman. She said she was walking down Rodeo Drive and she sees this woman and a group of friends pouring out of the Tiffany store, and she has hundreds of bags and she's smiling and laughing. She said, oh my God. So all my vitriol has literally netted nothing.
Right. Doesn't she know how angry at her I am?
No, and she doesn't care.
Part of our family lore had to do with the stereotype that Irish people hold grudges and never let go of anger. The joke is Irish Alzheimer's is you forget everything except for the people you hate. And our grandmother, Grandma Ginny, was a great
Hey was the only thing that was keeping her alive.
Yeah. She had grudges for years and years. I'm like, yeah, I don't let people wrong me again. I'm going to hold a grudge forever. And so many of them are useless.
Well, and again, all those feelings you're doing is clouding my arteries.
I was mad at a friend of mine because he had an affair that ended another friend's marriage. Okay. And I felt very self-righteous about it. But now he's been married to that lady for 20 years.
I think you should still be mad.
It's not my business. There's no reason for me to center myself in this.
Yes. I had a similar situation where a man I was friends with from high school who was like a really nice, just sweet guy. He had a friend from childhood who slept with and had a long-term affair with his girlfriend. And so it split up that relationship. The friend that I was friends with moved and the other guy stayed here. So I still see him all the time. It didn't work out with the affair partner because it rarely does. I remember it was like 10 years gone. And I found out that the friend that I was friends with was still friends with this dude. And I was like at the bar bagging on him all the time.
This has happened to me in comedy so many times because comedy, especially in small scenes, and I think this is probably true of any group of people, there's all this like rancor, and this person took this room from me, and you won't believe what she said. People will try to get you on this side or the other side. I had a friend from Seattle, and she was really mad at another comic from Seattle. And I said, okay, I'm in with you. I hate her too. And yeah, I turned around. They're friends again, but the other lady still blocked me on Facebook. It doesn't matter, but don't pick up other people's grudges. It's not useful.
Grudges. Yeah. Don't have any grudges, but specifically don't take
Right.
on people's grudges that are not even yours.
I've had grudges where I don't even remember what it's about. I just know I dislike them.
I just know you're bad.
You're just bad. It's usually about something dumb or something I should have let go of a long time ago.
You know, it's interesting. I was looking at Facebook because I'm back on Facebook because I'm constantly promoting this podcast. And I saw a memory and I was like, who is that? Because I have all these randos, you know, and I was like, oh, that was a woman who tried to beat me up in 6th grade.
Wow.
Because I think I thought this will be funny if she adds me. And then she did.
Oh my God. More helpful tips. How do you build resilience to anger? Here's my list. Gratitude. It's cheesy, but I think it's so important. Find your blessings. I was talking about this week. They say, especially like in showbiz, like don't compare and despair. We've talked about that a lot. And I realized that I've been doing a good job not comparing myself to people who are more successful than I am, but I've been doing a bad job at not comparing myself to people who I perceive as less successful than I am. And the truth is, you got to do it both ways.
Yeah, I think part of it is getting out of hierarchical thinking. I think that makes us angry.
Yes. Building horizontal relationships. And this is an anti-capitalist idea, and it's not how we're structured as a society. Just because you have more experience in a thing, it doesn't make you a better human than me. Just because
you have more financial success than I do doesn't make you better as a person.
No, we are all born and we all die, so we're all the same.
Here's a fun non sequitur. I was with my child yesterday and I saw a Kate Spade bag. And I'm trying to show my son that money isn't everything because he's obsessed with, he wants to be rich. He wants to have a Lamborghini. He wants all the things. And I said, this woman was a multimillionaire and she still took her own life.
It's an interesting conversation to have with a kid.
In the middle of a TJ Maxx.
In the middle of a TJ Maxx. Say, Kate Spade had everything and she still hanged herself on the back of a door and her assistant found her.
He asked me how she did it. And I actually knew.
Topic of another show, does money buy happiness? So building resilience to anger, avoiding sleep deprivation, practicing gratitude, physical activity. There's nothing that boosts my mood like physical activity or maintains my mood. Maintaining positive connections, be around people that make you feel good, that make you feel good about yourself. Also, involvement in causes you care about. I find that volunteering, right now I've been volunteering at a homeless shelter. I have done volunteering at an abortion clinic. Sorry, everybody. I believe in a woman's right to choose.
My body, my choice.
And just doing that and trying to look out for other people really builds my patience, I believe. What do you think are other good ways to like keep you out of an angry mindset or lifestyle?
There's only one thing for me. The one thing for me is to let go of entitlement. When you feel entitled to other people's time, energy, resources, etc., when you feel entitled to be the first in line or be treated in a certain way, that's when you get angry. And not for nothing, you know, this topic is my bread and butter and has been for years and years. I help lots of angry people, mostly men. And I think that this is another part of like dismantling the patriarchy. Stop believing that other people owe you something, that you deserve to be treated in a certain way, that you deserve to have things go in a certain way for you. You know, having the expectation that everything's going to go your way all the time. I think that's a really bad move if you want to avoid being angry.
And again, it's horizontal relationships. You're not above anyone. Like nobody is beholden to you. And that doesn't mean I don't treat people with respect, but it means I treat everybody with respect. I treat myself with respect. I treat my peers with respect. I treat my boss with respect, but I'm not bowing and scraping to anybody because nobody is any different than I am.
Right. And I think about, I have had the experience of speaking to men about people in customer service. and having men be angry because people were not especially kind to him. And I've been in customer service and I know what that feels like. And I realize it is my job to serve you in this situation. It is
Right.
not my job to smile or be nice to you. And I think, a lot of times men get very angry with women. I remember when I was working at EZ's, it sounds like a strip club. It's not. I remember standing behind a cash register and many men would approach me and say, "Why aren't you smiling? It's a great day to be alive." And I'm like, "Man, I'm working for $7 an hour running a cash register. I am stepping in Coca-Cola that's stuck to the bottoms of my shoes, and I smell like fry grease. This is not a great day to be alive."
It's not a great day. And my emotional support of you and your day is not part of my job.
Right. I am not your therapist. I am a lady in college.
Right. It's part of the invisible emotional labor that we want women to perform all the time.
But it's also entitlement. I am entitled
I'm
to
entitled.
some random girl working at Easy's to be nice to me and smile and act really excited to be here.
Wow, you're getting a milkshake. I can't believe it.
You got chili fries?
Dude, you got chili fries.
This is incredible. You want a Dos Equis with a lime?
So in closing, I went to go see Laurie Anderson this week, and she's been my favorite forever. She's a groundbreaking experimental musician and synth musician. She's invented a lot of things on stage as part of her performance art. She's, to me, very funny and very deadpan. And yeah, and she had her song, "Oh Superman," went temporarily viral on TikTok, even though, as Laura reminded me, a serial killer in England used to hype himself up on it. And I had heard that once you release your art, you can't control what people do with it, man. The Beatles did not write Helter Skelter for Charlie Manson to get amped up on, but it happened.
No, they didn't. I hope they didn't. I'll just say that.
I cross fingers. But during her show, and she was married to someone who was famously taciturn and angry, Lou Reed, who really chilled out as time progressed. Her advice that she offered on not being depressed that she got from her friend was eat good food, get enough sleep, and try not to hate yourself so much.
Fair.
As written. The other amazing thing that she did that I want to share, she does her show. At the end of her show, she just says quietly into the microphone, "That's all we have time for." And then she walks off stage. Everybody gets up. We scream and clap and make all kinds of noise. And I'm thinking, well, she's not going to do an encore. She didn't say, "Good night, LA," or "Thanks for having us." She said, "That's all we have time for." Like that seems clear.
It's pretty cut and dry.
But she came out and she had her band play some music. She had everybody stand up and we all did Tai Chi. She led us through a series of Tai Chi movements. And I left that show feeling, one, connected to everybody in the audience. And two, I felt like my brain had had a massage. Anyway, she's not angry. She's Laurie Anderson.
The Chinese have it figured out. I once went to a Buddhist monastery and they did group meditation and I felt like I was floating on a cloud for like 2 hours.
Laura, what are your final thoughts? And you shared a lot of amazing thoughts, but what are your final thoughts about dealing with anger if you feel you have a problem with anger?
Go to therapy. Let go of your entitlement. Remind yourself. This is something that I focus on a lot in my job. Try to see if you can find out what the other feelings are. Because I think when we're masking under anger, we don't know what the other feelings are. So we can't ever process them. Like that's the thing. I remember I had this client who was so angry. The reason he came to see me was that he had pulled over this guy on the side of the road and was getting out of his car to get into a fist fight with this man.
Wow.
And he realized that that man had a gun.
That's the Texas lesson, isn't it?
So he thought, you know what, maybe therapy is the move. But, when we talked about it, I said, okay, what was the real feeling? And it was fear. He was afraid because the guy was driving erratically and he was afraid. And then he thought, well, can't do that. Got to swallow that. We're going to go ahead and go with this thing that makes me feel empowered that is not actually helping me. So know the real emotions. I guess that's my takeaway. Actually delve in and really be there. And just remember that this is a choice. Being angry isn't a choice, but the things you do when you're angry are a choice. Virginia, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are In the therapy work that I've done, my big lesson was it's not about you. And I have felt very entitled to certain treatment or certain kudos or like whatever it is. And it's never caused me anything but unhappiness. Having those expectations and feeling that people aren't quite living up to them. Try to build horizontal relationships. Remember that you legitimately, you're not special.
You do not matter.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. That's another Asian concept. When I first started traveling to Asia, the first thing you notice is the difference in society about the group, your family versus the individual. And they make decisions that are not good for the individual, but they're good for the family group because they don't think that they're that important individually. So when you're angry, ask yourself, is it because I think I'm better than this person? Do I think I deserve something I maybe don't?
Right. Am I trying to teach a random person a lesson?
Right. That's a great question. Laura, where can people find you on the internet should they wish to know more about Laura Ryan?
Well, they can find me at mysistersatherapist.com, up and running. They can also find me at lauraryan.org. They can follow me on TikTok at I am Laura Ryan, or they can find me on Instagram at My Sister's a Therapist Instagram. Virginia, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me, well, you can always write us on My Sister's a Therapist. You can find me at badinia.com. I keep a calendar there with all my upcoming shows. If you're in the LA area or sometimes in NorCal, I do shows there. My TikTok is Badinia and my Instagram is Badinia. And that's pretty much all you need to know about me is the word BADINIA.
Excellent. And if you want to contact us directly, you can drop us a line at hello@mysistersatherapist.com if you want to tell us how great this show is, and or you have ideas for future shows. Also, if you'd like to hire...
We take those ideas.
Oh, we take them and we use them. Also, if you'd like to hire us to speak at your women's conference, leadership event, retreat, educational seminar, flea market, vegetarian, vegan weekend,
yeah,
you can hire us by emailing hireus@mysistersatherapist.com.
This is the part of the show where Laura reads a listener review and we talk about how much we appreciate it. Laura, do you have a review for us this week?
I certainly do. This review is from Oatmeal Lover, someone who enjoys
Who doesn't?
time at the oatmeal bar. The title is Phenomenal. Love this podcast. Interesting topics, hot takes, well crafted. Thanks, Oatmeal Lover.
We love you and we love oatmeal as well.
Yes, we do.
Or I like oatmeal.
And we love oatmeal lovers. Lovers of oatmeal and oatmealers who love. So, in the immortal words of Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn,
we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.